Hello, welcome to Choir Repertoire. Today I'm presenting to you a composition by Gustav Holst called I Love My Love. But let me start by introducing to you the composer. Gustav Theodor Holst was an English composer born in 1874 into a musically gifted family, including some professional musicians. He studied music at the Royal College of Music, and his composition teacher was no other than the composer Charles Villiers Stanford. Besides, he was in the same class with another well-known composer, Herbert Howells. In 1895, he met Ralph Vaughan Williams, who became his closest friend as well as a colleague, and who had a big influence on his music. While he was still a student, he was invited to conduct the Hammersmith Socialist Choir in London, and there he met a beautiful soprano called Isabel Harrison. He fell in love, and she became his wife. Around the same period, he developed an interest in Hindu literature and philosophy, and he even took some lessons in Sanskrit. Holst has been a music teacher all his life. He was head of music at St. Paul's Girls' School in Hammersmith and also music director at Morley College. His students thought of him as an inspirational but also sometimes unorthodox teacher. He very much believed in learning by doing. Now, Gustav Holst will probably always remain best known for his symphonic work, The Planets, but he has also written many choral works, most of them non-religious, and many folk songs and part songs arrangements for choir, both with and without instruments accompanying the voices. In the beginning of the 20th century, there was a revival of folk music in England. Holst was greatly influenced by this, and together with his friend Vaughan Williams, he began collecting folk songs. The work now under discussion, I Love My Love, is a beautiful traditional Cornish song. This setting of Holst first appeared in 1917 in a collection entitled 6 Choral Folk Songs. The text relates the story of a young woman whose fiancé has been sent away to sea by his disapproving parents, and she goes mad with grief. She ends up in Bedlam, the common nickname for the Bethlehem Royal Hospital for the Insane. But all ends well when her lover rescues her and marries her on his return. Let us listen to this setting made by Holst.
Sleep
I will now guide you through different aspects of this composition. We will zoom into the melody, some harmonic aspects, and tempo. We will also talk about some performance considerations. The traditional melody that you see on this page is tossed between the parts for each different strophe, with mainly the male voices being used to represent the lover returned from sea. Each strophe ends with the refrain, "I love my love because I know my love loves me." It's a poignant phrase, but also positively affirmative. In the first several strophes, this is said by the distraught woman who holds on to her strong belief in spite of family pressure. When the lover returns, it is now his turn to echo back her own words. This way, he reaffirms her belief, which is of course also his own belief. I love my love because I know my love loves me. The arrangement of Holst produces a very narrational and lively setting, adapted to the content of each strophe. It's very varied, and he succeeds in sensitive mood painting. Look, for example, at how he treats the refrain. Each time the woman states her belief in her lover, her message can be very clearly heard. It provides a wonderful contrast of phrases, which are like call and response, and when the lover himself finally enters the picture, he directly answers her confused question. The harmonies that Holst uses sound intriguing. Of course, he was writing music in a period where composers were searching for the boundaries of what could be done with classical harmony. But an important part of the sound is determined by the Dorian mode used. One of the key features of older traditional folk song is their what we call modal nature, with tonalities, which we call modes, coming from medieval and Renaissance music, like for example Gregorian chant. Now a word about the Dorian mode, which is used in this song in the tonality of F minor. It is different from what we are used to in two aspects. Firstly, the seventh tone is not raised, which makes the end of the sentence, which we call a cadence in classical music, which makes those ends a bit mysterious. Listen to the difference it makes in a classical 5-1 cadence. But another surprising and even more intriguing thing is the sharpened sixth tone, which adds an even more unusual sound. It results in an ancient sounding scale. Now Holst uses these two elements of the Dorian scale throughout the composition. In the F minor tonality of this song, this means you will find an E flat instead of an E natural, which is the flattened seventh of the Dorian scale. And also you will find no D flat, but a D natural, which is of course the sharpened sixth tone in the Dorian mode. Now Holst uses the Dorian mode, but there's a lot more to tell about the structure and harmonies of the piece. It's quite ingenious, and every strophe has its own discoveries that you can make. We take a deep dive into this in another video, which you can find on our Patreon page. Make sure you make a decision on the pace too. Holst gives the indication andante, which means walking. But that can mean many things. It can vary from about 76 up to maybe 110 per crotchet. 110 is more like a brisk walking pace, which can echo, of course, the joy of the happy ending of the story. A slower tempo might give you a very different atmosphere, and it might enhance the harmonic colors. The choice is yours. There's also a lot to say about the tempo changes in the fourth strophe, but that's for another video. So, it's quite an ingenious piece, but when you perform it, it is important to keep a grip on the atmosphere of a simple folk song. This is, above all, a ballad, and the story must be told clearly in the performance. Holst also gives very precise instructions, such as parlante, which means like speaking, or affettuoso, meaning with affection. The composition is very delicate and nuanced, so the performance must remain transparent so that you can hear the various tones of light and shade. For example, the first and the second strophe are musically identical, but there is a clear difference in mood. The listener should be able to hear that difference in the way your choir performs these strophes. There is a lot more to be told about this composition. If we have triggered your interest, feel free to visit our page on Patreon, where we take a much more thorough look at the piece. We also give you suggestions on how to study this work with your singers and how to tackle the challenging parts for the conductor. Like what to do with all the fermatas you can find throughout the piece, and how to treat the difficult fourth strophe, which varies a lot in speed and mood. See you there.